My son Ronnie wrote that text while I was sitting at the bank, holding a pen, seconds away from signing over my entire life savings. The same savings I had scraped together for 40 years. Every vacation I skipped, every dollar I saved, every sacrifice I made, it was all for that house that they secretly planned to lock me out of. I stared at the message on my phone. We don't need you anymore. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just took a deep breath. And for the first time in 8 months, I saw my son clearly. I felt something inside me click, like a heavy door slamming shut. It's funny how quickly a mother's love can turn into ice when she realizes she is nothing more than a checkbook. And as I looked at that pen in my hand, I knew exactly what I had to do. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button. Now, let me tell you how it happened. My son thinks he is smart. He thinks that because I am 68 and wear bifocals, I don't know how to use technology. He thinks that because I am his mother, my love is blind and my wallet is bottomless. But he forgot one thing. I raised him. I know when he is lying. And today, sitting in this cold bank office, I didn't just catch him in a lie. I caught him erasing me from his life. I am sitting in a leather chair that is too low for my bad hip, staring at a piece of paper on the mahogany desk. It is a wire transfer authorization form. The numbers are typed in bold black ink. $120,000. That number isn't just money to me. That is 40 years of packed lunches. That is 40 years of skipping vacations so we could put extra into the savings account. That is the life insurance check from when my husband, George, passed away last year. George worked himself into the ground for that money. He wanted me to be safe. He wanted me to be secure. And here I am, about to hand it all over to a bank I don't use for a house I won't own. The young man across the desk, Mr. Henderson, smiles at me. He has a nice face, clean-shaven, eager to please. I just need to get the branch manager to sign off on this amount. Mrs. Dent, he says, it's a large transaction, so we just have to double-check everything. I'll be right back. Take your time, I say. My voice sounds steady, but my hands are shaking in my lap. I look around the office. It's quiet. The air conditioning is humming. This is it. The final step. This money is the cash to close for my son Ronnie and his wife Sophia's new house. Their forever home, they call it. A big colonial with 4 bedrooms in a fancy neighborhood. Ronnie had come to me 6 months ago with tears in his eyes. Mom, we found it. It's perfect. It has a mother-in-law suite on the first floor. You won't have to do stairs anymore. You can live with us. We'll take care of you. Sophia had held my hand. We want you there, Stephanie. You shouldn't be alone in that old house. Think of the grandkids. They can run down the hall to see Grandma every morning. I believed them. I wanted to believe them. The loneliness since George died has been a heavy blanket I can't shake off. The idea of waking up to the sound of my grandchildren laughing, it was enough to make me sell George's vintage truck. It was enough to make me cash out my IRAs. It was enough to make me sit here today, stripping my bank account down to the bones. My phone buzzes on the edge of the desk. It vibrates loudly against the wood, startling me. I pick it up. It's a text from Ronnie. I adjust my glasses. I expect it to say, "Did you send it yet?" Or maybe, "Love you, Mom." I unlock the screen. The message is there, glowing in the blue light. But as I read it, the air leaves my lungs. I read it once. Then I wipe my glasses with the hem of my sweater and read it again. Don't worry, babe. Once the old hag wires the cash today, we're done. We don't need you anymore to pretend we like her. We'll change the locks the day we move in. I stare at the phone. The timestamp says 10:14 a.m. Babe. He calls Sophia, babe. He calls me mom. He sent this to the wrong person. He meant to text his wife, but he clicked my name instead. The world stops. The humming of the air conditioner fades away. All I can hear is the blood rushing in my ears. The old hag. That's me. We don't need you anymore. That's the truth. We'll change the locks the day we move in. That's the plan. I put the phone down on the desk. My hand is strangely calm now. The shaking has stopped. You know, people talk about heartbreak like it's a sharp pain, like a knife. But it's not. It's cold. It's a freezing cold that starts in your stomach and spreads to your fingertips. All those Sunday dinners where Sophia compliantly ate my pot roast, fake. All those times Ronnie hugged me and said I was the best mom in the world, a lie. The mother-in-law suite, it wasn't for me. It was probably for a rental income or maybe a game room. They never intended for me to live there. They just needed my money to buy the house. I look at the wire transfer form again. $120,000. If I sign this paper, I am homeless. I am broke. And I am locked out. They will take George's legacy and slam the door in my face. They are waiting for this money right now. They can't close on the house tomorrow without it. If this wire doesn't hit the title company's account by 5 p.m. today, the deal falls apart. Mr. Henderson walks back into the office. He looks cheerful. He is holding a pen. Okay, Mrs. Dent. Everything looks good on our end, he says, sitting down. He slides the paper toward me. Just need your signature right here at the bottom, and the funds will be wired immediately. They should receive it within the hour. He uncaps the pen and holds it out to me. I look at the pen. It's a nice pen, heavy and black. I think about George. I think about how his hands looked covered in grease from the garage, working extra shifts so we could have a nest egg. He didn't work those shifts for Ronnie to buy a mansion. He worked them for me, so I wouldn't have to worry. I look at the phone again. The screen has gone dark. Mrs. Dent, the banker asks gently, is everything all right? I take a deep breath. It is the clearest breath I have taken in 8 months. Actually, I say, my voice is soft. It doesn't crack. I have a question. Sure, he says. If I don't sign this, nothing happens, right? The money stays in my account. Mr. Henderson looks confused. Well, yes, but you said this was urgent for a closing tomorrow. It was, I say. I stand up. I pick up my purse. I pick up my phone. But I've changed my mind. You've changed your mind? He blinks. Do you want to transfer a different amount? No, I say. I look him right in the eye. I don't want to transfer anything. Cancel the transaction, please. Are you sure? He asks, looking concerned. If this is for a house, delaying it might cause issues with the contract. I smile. It's a small smile, but it feels genuine. I'm sure. I'm keeping my money. I turn around and walk out of the office. I leave the form sitting there on the desk, and signed. The lobby of the bank is bright. I walk past the tellers, past the security guard, and push through the heavy glass doors into the sunlight. The parking lot is hot. I walk to my 10-year-old sedan, the one Ronnie told me was an embarrassment and that I should sell. I get in the car and lock the doors. My phone buzzes again. Another text. It's Ronnie. Hey, Mom. Just checking in. Did the bank give you a hard time? Let me know when you get the confirmation number so I can forward it to the title company. Love you. He doesn't know. He hasn't looked at his phone to see his mistake yet. Or maybe he is just so arrogant he doesn't check his sent folder. He thinks the money is on the way. He thinks he has won. He thinks the old hag is sitting in that office signing away her future. I toss the phone onto the passenger seat. I don't reply. Let him wait. Let him sit there with Sophia, popping champagne, planning which color to paint the walls. Let them stare at their bank account, refreshing the page, waiting for a fortune that is never going to arrive. I put the car in reverse. They wanted to change the locks. That's fine. I just changed the entire future. The clock is ticking, Ronnie, and you have no idea what's coming. Driving home from the bank, the silence in my car feels different than it usually does. For the last year, silence has been my enemy. It has been a heavy, suffocating thing that filled every room of my house since George passed. But today, with the canceled wire transfer receipt tucked in my purse, the silence feels like armor. It feels like protection. My mind drifts back. I need to understand how I let it get this far. I am not a foolish woman. I worked as a bookkeeper for 30 years. I know how to balance a ledger. I know the value of $1. So how did I let my son and his wife trick me into emptying my life savings? It didn't happen overnight. It was a slow drip. It started 8 months ago, right around the first anniversary of George's funeral. That was the hardest month. The grief comes in waves, and that month I was drowning. The house felt too big. The yard was too much work. I would sit in George's old recliner in the evenings, staring at the TV, just waiting for the phone to ring. Waiting for anyone to remember I was still here. That is when Ronnie and Sophia started coming around. Before that, I'd be lucky to see them on holidays. They were always too busy with work or too tired from the week. But suddenly, they were there every Sunday. Sophia would bring over a lasagna. Ronnie would offer to mow the lawn. They filled the empty space in the living room with chatter. They made me feel needed again. They made me feel like a mother again, not just a widow. I didn't see the hook. I only saw the bait. One Sunday, after dinner, Sophia pulled out her tablet. She sat next to me on the sofa, smelling like expensive perfume, and rested her head on my shoulder. "Mom," she said, scrolling through pictures of houses. "Ronnie and I have been thinking. We worry about you in this big old place all alone. It's not safe." She showed me a listing. It was a beautiful house. Brick front, big windows, a manicured lawn. "Look at this," she said, tapping the screen. "It has a finished basement suite. It has its own bathroom, a little kitchenette, and a walkout patio. It's a mother-in-law suite, Mom." Ronnie chimed in from the other chair. "It would be perfect. We'd be upstairs, you'd be downstairs. You'd have your privacy, but we'd be right there if you needed anything. We could have coffee together every morning." I looked at the pictures. I imagined it. No more lonely nights. No more worrying if I slipped in the shower that no one would find me for days. I imagined waking up and hearing life in the house. "It's expensive," I had said, looking at the price. "We can handle the mortgage," Ronnie said quickly. "We just need a little help getting qualified. The bank is being tough on us." That was the first pull of the thread. A week later, Ronnie came over with his head in his hands. He looked so stressed. He told me the bank wouldn't approve their pre-approval letter because their credit card utilization was too high. They had $12,000 in credit card debt from their wedding and a vacation they took to Mexico. "If we don't pay this off, Mom, we lose the interest rate lock," he said. "We'll lose the house. We'll lose the suite for you." I wrote the check. I told myself it was an investment in my future. I was buying my way out of loneliness, but it didn't stop there. 2 months later, it was the earnest money. Then it was the inspection fees. Then it was unexpected closing costs. Every time they came over, there was a new crisis. And every crisis had a price tag attached to it. I started digging deeper into my reserves. I stopped buying the good cuts of meat at the grocery store. I canceled my cable subscription. I told myself it was temporary. Once we were all in the big house together, expenses would be lower. The worst moment, the moment that should have woken me up, was the car. George had a 1967 Mustang. He bought it the year we got married. He spent every Saturday in the garage polishing that chrome. He loved that car more than anything, except maybe me. He told me once, "Stephanie, if anything happens to me, this car is your safety net. It's worth a fortune." 3 months ago, Ronnie told me the down payment requirements had changed. They needed another $40,000. I didn't have it in liquid cash without touching the main retirement fund, which carries heavy tax penalties. "Sell the Mustang," Ronnie said. I looked at him like he had slapped me. "That's your father's car." "Dad is gone, Mom," he said, his voice hard. "The car is just gathering dust. Do you want a pile of metal in the garage, or do you want a home with your family?" Sophia had squeezed my hand. "Think of the memories we'll make in the new house. George would want you to be happy, wouldn't he?" They used my dead husband against me. I sold it. I stood in the driveway and watched a stranger load George's pride and joy onto a trailer. I cried as it drove away. Ronnie didn't cry. He just checked his watch and asked when the check would clear. I gave them that money, and it still wasn't enough. Then came my health. I have been needing a dental implant for a year. My molar cracked, and it hurts to chew on the left side. The dentist told me it would cost $4,000. I had the appointment scheduled for last month. I canceled it. Ronnie called me the day before the appointment. They needed money for new appliances for the new house because the sellers were taking the old ones. "We can't move in without a fridge, Mom," he whined. So I ate soup. I chewed on the right side. I lived with the throbbing pain in my jaw because I thought I was helping my son build a life for us. I skipped my heart checkup too. The copay and the tests were expensive. I told myself I'd go next year, once we were settled. I sacrificed my body. I sacrificed my history. I sacrificed my comfort. And for what? Driving down the highway. Now, the memory of that text message burns in my mind. Once the old hag wires the cash today, we're done. They didn't see a mother. They didn't see a grandmother. They saw a piggy bank. They saw a resource to be mined until it was empty, and then discarded. I remember Sophia looking at my old furniture last week. "We won't be bringing this into the new house, Mom," she said, wrinkling her nose. "It's too dated. We'll get you some nice IKEA stuff for the basement." I thought she was being stylish. Now, I know she just didn't want my trash in her mansion. She probably planned to dump it all in a skip the moment I signed the check. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. My knuckles are white. I gave up George's car for them. I ignored my own pain for them. I sat in this car alone, driving to the bank, ready to give them the last thing I had in the world. Well, the bank is closed now. The wire is canceled. I am pulling into my driveway. My house looks small. The paint is peeling a little on the porch. The grass is getting long because Ronnie hasn't mowed it in weeks. He's been too busy preparing for the move. But as I look at it, I don't see a lonely old house anymore. I see a fortress. I see the place where I am safe. I park the car. I look at my phone. No new texts. They are still celebrating. They are probably picking out curtains. I walk up the steps to my front door. I put my key in the lock. It turns smoothly. We'll change the locks the day we move in. No, you won't, because you're never getting in. I am sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of tea that has gone cold. My phone is silent on the placemat in front of me. I know I should feel anxious. I know I should feel terrified that I just blew up a $500,000 real estate deal. But mostly, I just feel like a fool. Now that the checkbook is closed, my eyes are wide open. I am replaying the last 8 months in my head, looking for the signs I missed. The truth is, I didn't miss them. I ignored them. I swept them under the rug because I wanted so badly to be part of the family. I think about Sophia. My daughter-in-law is a beautiful woman. She has perfect hair, perfect teeth, and a smile that turns on like a light switch when she wants something. But the moment she gets it, the light goes off. I remember a Tuesday afternoon last month. I had gone over to their apartment to watch the grandkids, Leo and Mia, so Sophia could go to a yoga class. I was happy to do it. I love those kids more than breath itself. When Sophia came home, she walked in the door and didn't even say hello. She just looked at the living room floor, where the kids had scattered some Legos. God, it's a mess in here, she sighed, dropping her yoga mat. She didn't look at me. She looked through me. We were having fun, I said, starting to pick up the blocks. I was just about to tidy up. Leave it, she snapped. Then she put on that fake, sweet voice. You're too slow, Mom. I'll just do it myself. You should probably head home before it gets dark. You know how your eyes are. It wasn't an insult, exactly, but it felt like one. It was a reminder that I was old, that I was incompetent, that I was a burden who couldn't even pick up plastic blocks fast enough. I left feeling small. I left feeling like I had messed up, even though I had just given her 3 hours of free babysitting. That was Sophia's talent. She could make me feel grateful for the privilege of being treated like hired help. Then there was the furniture. 2 weeks ago, they came over to measure my space in the new house. The basement suite. I was excited. I walked them around my living room, pointing out the pieces I wanted to bring. My china cabinet, which George bought me for our 25th anniversary. The oak dining table where Ronnie ate his birthday cakes growing up. Sophia stood there with a tape measure, looking at my things like they were contaminated. Oh, Stephanie, she said, wrinkling her nose. This stuff is huge. And heavy. It's solid oak, I said proudly. They don't make them like this anymore. Yeah, well, the basement has a modern aesthetic, she said. She exchanged a look with Ronnie. I saw it. It was a quick roll of the eyes, a microscopic shake of the head. It said, "Can you believe she wants to bring this junk? Maybe we can sell this stuff on Facebook Marketplace," Sophia suggested. "Use the money to buy you something from IKEA. Something white. Clean lines. We don't want the new house smelling like dust." She meant it to sound helpful, but I heard what she really meant. She didn't want my history. She didn't want my memories. She wanted a clean, white, sterile box for me to live in, hidden away in the basement where my old person smell wouldn't offend her guests. I swallowed my pride. I told her, maybe you're right. Maybe it's time for a change. I agreed to sell my husband's anniversary gift because I was afraid that if I said no, the offer to live with them would disappear. But the worst weapon she had wasn't her tongue. It was the grandchildren. Sophia knew that Leo and Mia were my weakness. She knew I would walk through fire to make sure those kids were happy. And she used them like currency. Every time I hesitated about money, the conversation turned to the kids' future. This neighborhood is the only one with the top-rated elementary school, she told me when they first showed me the house listing. If we stay in this apartment, Leo has to go to the district school. Do you know the test scores there, Mom? They are awful. Do you want Leo to fall behind? Of course not, I said. And safety, she added, her eyes wide. The crime rate is rising here. I just want the kids to be safe. Don't you want them to have a backyard where they can run without stepping on broken glass? It was emotional blackmail, plain and simple. We just want the best for the grandkids, Mom, she would say. We're doing this for them, not for us. If I said I couldn't afford something, I wasn't saying no to a house. I was saying no to my grandson's education. I was saying no to my granddaughter's safety. She twisted it so that keeping my own savings made me a bad grandmother. That's how she got the extra $10,000 last week. I had already given the down payment. I had already sold the car. I thought I was tapped out. Then Ronnie called me. It was 8 p.m. I could hear Sophia crying in the background. Loud, theatrical sobs. Mom, we have a problem, Ronnie said. His voice was tight. The underwriter came back. They need to see more cash reserves. They think because I'm self-employed, the income is too risky. They need to see another 10 grand in the account by tomorrow morning, or they deny the loan. Ronnie, I don't have it. I told him. I'm down to the insurance money. That's for the closing. We know, Mom. Sophia yelled from the background. We know. But if we don't fix this, we lose the house. We lose the school district. I can't send Mia to that other school. I won't do it. Her panic was infectious. My heart started racing. I imagined my little granddaughter sitting in a classroom, scared, falling behind. It's just reserves, Mom, Ronnie said, lowering his voice. We don't spend it. It just has to sit in the account to show the bank we have a buffer. Once we close, we can give it back. You promise? I asked. I swear on my life, he said. It's just for show. Buying family unity, Mom. That's all we are doing. I went to the bank the next morning. I moved $10,000 from my rainy day fund, money I was saving for a new roof for my house, and wired it to them. I never saw a receipt. I never saw a bank statement proving the underwriter asked for it. For all I know, they used it to pay for movers, or new furniture, or a vacation. I bought their unity. I paid for their peace of mind. And how did they repay me? With a text message calling me an old hag. I look at the empty chair across the table. I can almost see Sophia sitting there, sipping my coffee, telling me how much she loves me while calculating how much more she can squeeze out of me before I die. She thought I was a senile old woman who would do anything to be included. She thought she could insult my furniture, dismiss my help, and threaten my access to my grandchildren, and I would just keep writing checks. She underestimated me. She forgot that before I was a grandmother, I was a mother, and before I was a mother, I was a woman who navigated life without a safety net. I survived heartbreaks before she was even born. I pick up my teacup and walk to the sink. I pour the cold tea down the drain. You wanted a reserve fund, Sophia? You wanted to secure your future? Well, I hope you saved that $10,000, because you're going to need it for a deposit on a rental apartment when this deal crashes and burns. The red flags aren't warnings anymore. They are the fire that is going to burn your plans to the ground. It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The house is quiet. Usually at this time of day, I would be frantic. I would be packing boxes. I would be wrapping my dishes in newspaper, worrying if I had enough tape, worrying if the movers would show up on time, worrying if I had packed the kettle in the right box so I could make tea the moment we arrived at the new house. But today, there are no boxes. My china is sitting safely in the cabinet. My clothes are hanging in the closet. The only thing I am holding is a ham sandwich. I take a bite, chewing slowly. It tastes better than any meal I have had in months. It tastes like freedom. My phone is sitting on the counter. I have been waiting for it to ring. I know the timeline. I worked in bookkeeping. I know that wire transfers have cutoff times. I know that right about now, the title company is checking their escrow account for the 3rd time, wondering where the money is. And right on cue, the phone buzzes. It's Ronnie. I wipe a crumb from my lip and clear my throat. I don't answer on the first ring. I let it ring 3 times. I want him to sweat. I want him to wonder, just for a second, if something is wrong. I slide the button to answer. Hello, Mom. Ronnie's voice is loud. He sounds breathless, like he's been running. Mom, are you there? I'm here, Ronnie. Why are you shouting? I'm not shouting. Look, I just got off the phone with the title officer. They said the wire hasn't hit yet. The account is showing 0. I lean back against the kitchen counter. I can hear the stress in his voice. It's the sound of a man who is standing on a ledge and feels his foot slip. 0. I ask, keeping my voice calm. That's strange. Did you go to the bank? He asks. You went this morning, right? Like we talked about. Of course I did. I lie. The lie comes out smooth as silk. It doesn't feel like a sin. It feels like justice. I was there at 10 o'clock sharp. I sat with Mr. Henderson. Nice young man. We filled out all the paperwork. Then why isn't the money there? Ronnie demands. He isn't asking me. He is accusing me. Mom, if that money doesn't show up by close of business today, they push the closing. If they push the closing, the sellers might walk. They have a backup offer, remember? I know, honey, I say, but you know how banks are. Mr. Henderson said something about, oh, what was it? A batch processing delay. He said since it's over $100,000, it has to go through a federal clearinghouse or something. I am making this up, but it sounds official enough to work. Ronnie doesn't know anything about banking. He only knows how to spend money, not how to move it. A clearinghouse. He sighs, a long, frustrated sound. God, these people are incompetent. I told Sophia we should have done a cashier's check. Don't worry, I say. Mr. Henderson gave me a confirmation code. He said it's guaranteed to be there first thing in the morning, before you even sit down to sign. There is a pause. I can hear him talking to someone in the background, probably Sophia. He is repeating what I said. Batch processing, clearing house, first thing in the morning. He comes back on the line. Okay, that makes sense. As long as it's there by 9 a.m. Our appointment is at 10 o'clock. It will be there, I say. You just get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow is a big day. Yeah, he says. His voice softens just a fraction. Thanks, Mom. Sorry I snapped. It's just this house. It means everything to us. I know it does. I say, give my love to the kids. I hang up. I stand there in my kitchen, feeling a strange mix of adrenaline and sadness. He believed me. He believed me because he thinks I am a harmless old woman who does exactly what she is told. He thinks I am incapable of deception. He doesn't realize that a mother protects her young, but she also protects her nest. And he just tried to kick me out of mine. I finish my sandwich and wash my plate. I decide to make myself a fresh pot of tea. As the water boils, I sit down in my recliner and open my iPad. I usually check Facebook in the evenings to see pictures of my friends' grandchildren or look up recipes. Today, I go straight to Sophia's profile. She has posted 20 minutes ago. It is a picture of a bottle of Dom Perignon champagne sitting on a packing box. In the background, I can see their apartment is in chaos, boxes everywhere, bare walls. They are fully packed. They are ready to go. The caption reads, so incredibly blessed. Tomorrow we close on our forever home. It's been a long road, but hard work really pays off. Can't wait to raise my babies in a mansion. Hashtag new beginnings, hashtag hard work, hashtag dream home. I stare at the words. Hard work. Whose hard work, Sophia? Was it hard work when you sat on my sofa and criticized my furniture? Was it hard work when you manipulated me into selling George's Mustang? Was it hard work when you typed out that text message calling me an old hag? She didn't mention me. She didn't thank her mother-in-law, who drained her life savings to make this happen. She took the credit. She claimed the victory. Hard work pays off. I whisper to the empty room. Yes, it does. And you're about to find out what happens when you don't do any. I close the Facebook app. I don't like the photo. I don't comment. I just let it sit there, a monument to her vanity. I switch apps to my bank. I log in with my fingerprint. The little wheel spins for a second, and then my dashboard loads. Checking account, $124,500. The numbers are black. They are solid. They are mine. If I had signed that paper this morning, that number would be $4,500. I would be destitute. I would be at their mercy, waiting for an allowance, waiting for permission to buy a new pair of shoes. But the money is still there. I feel a tear roll down my cheek. It's not a tear of regret. It's relief. It's the feeling of dodging a bullet that was aimed right at my heart. I take a sip of my tea. It is hot and strong. Outside, the sun is setting. The street lights are flickering on. In a few hours, Ronnie and Sophia will go to sleep on mattresses on the floor, surrounded by boxes, dreaming of the master suite in the new house. They will dream of the pool parties they will host. They will dream of the status they will have. They don't know that the moving truck they hired for tomorrow morning is going to have nowhere to go. They don't know that the sellers are going to walk away the minute the funds aren't verified. They don't know that they have already given notice on their apartment. They are about to be homeless, and they did it to themselves. I close my iPad and set it on the side table. I pull my Afghan blanket over my legs. You wanted a mansion, I say softly. You wanted to change the locks so the old hag couldn't get in. I look around my cozy living room. The shadows are long, but they aren't scary. Well, you won't need to change the locks, I say, because you will never step foot in that house. I close my eyes. For the first time in 8 months, I am going to sleep like a baby. Tomorrow is going to be a very long day for them. But for me, I think I might sleep in. I am in my garden. It is 10 o'clock in the morning. The sun is warm on my back, and I am deadheading the petunias. It is a mundane task, pinching off the dead blooms so the new ones can grow. It feels symbolic. I am removing the dead weight from my life today. I know exactly where my son is right now. I know because he sent me the calendar invite weeks ago, demanding I keep the time open just in case. He is at the title company downtown. It's a fancy office with glass walls and plush carpets. I can picture it perfectly. Ronnie is probably wearing his navy blue suit, the one I bought him for his cousin's wedding. Sophia is likely wearing something white or cream, trying to look like the wealthy housewife she desperately wants to be. They are sitting at a long mahogany table. The sellers are there, a nice couple in their 50s who are relocating to Florida. They have a moving truck idling in the parking lot, fully loaded, waiting for the word that the deed has recorded so they can hand over the keys and drive south. There is probably a bottle of champagne on ice in the corner. The real estate agents are there, smiling, calculating their commissions. Everyone is happy. Everyone is waiting for the final piece of the puzzle. Me, or rather, my money. My phone is in my apron pocket. I feel it vibrating against my hip. I don't answer it yet. I pull a weed from the soil. I shake the dirt off the roots. It vibrates again and again. I wipe my hands on my apron. I take the phone out. It's Ronnie. I slide the button to answer. I don't say hello. I just listen. Mom, pick up. Mom. Ronnie is screaming. He isn't panicking yet. He is just impatient. Mom, are you there? I'm here, Ronnie. I say calmly. I'm in the garden. The garden? He sputters. Mom, we are at the table. The escrow officer just came in. She says the wire isn't showing up. She says the account is empty. I can hear the echo in the room. He has me on speakerphone. Good. I wanted an audience. Is that so? I ask. Yes, that's so. Sophia's voice cuts in. She sounds shrill. Stephanie, did you put the wrong routing number? We told you to double check it. The sellers are staring at us. This is embarrassing. I didn't put the wrong number. Sophia, I say. Then what is going on? Ronnie demands. Mr. Henderson gave you a confirmation code, right? Read it to me. The officer is right here. We can track it. I hear a rustling sound. Someone else is speaking. It sounds like the escrow officer. Her voice is professional but firm. Mr. Dent, I just got off the phone with the bank's wire department directly. There is no pending incoming wire. The transfer was initiated yesterday, but it was flagged as canceled by sender at 10:15 a.m. The silence on the other end of the line is heavy. It is the kind of silence that happens right before a car crash. Canceled? Ronnie's voice cracks. That's impossible. My mother was there. She signed the papers. She didn't sign them, the officer says. The bank notes say the customer declined the transaction. Mom, Ronnie says. He sounds like a little boy now. Scared. Confused. Mom, what is she talking about? You told me you sent it. You said it was a batch delay. I take a deep breath. The air in my garden smells like fresh earth and basil. I lied, Ronnie. I say, what? I lied. I repeat. My voice is steady. I speak clearly so everyone in that conference room can hear me, the agents, the sellers, the officer. I didn't send the money. I canceled the wire 5 minutes after I sat down with Mr. Henderson. But why? Sophia screams. Why would you do that? We are sitting here. The movers are outside. You can't do this to us. I can, I say, and I did. But we're family. Ronnie yells. You promised. You said you wanted to help us. You said you wanted to be with the grandkids. I did want that, Ronnie. I say, I wanted that more than anything. I sold your father's car for that. I emptied my savings for that. Then fix it, he begs. Just wire it now. We can wait. We can pay a rush fee. Just tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, I say. The only mistake was the text message you sent me yesterday morning. Text message. Ronnie stammers. What text message? The one you meant for your wife. I say, the one where you called me an old hack. The one where you said, once she wires the cash, we're done. The one where you planned to change the locks the day you moved in. The silence on the other end is absolute. It is deafening. I continue. I read it, Ronnie. I read every word. You didn't want a mother. You wanted a checkbook. And you definitely didn't want me living in that basement. Mom, no, that was a joke. Ronnie stammers, but his voice is shaking. He knows he is caught. I didn't mean it like that. You misunderstood. I understood perfectly. I say, you said you didn't need me anymore. You said you were done pretending to like me. So, I decided to give you exactly what you wanted. I am stepping out of your life. And I am taking my money with me. You can't do this. Sophia shrieks. She sounds unhinged. We have already given notice on our apartment. We have nowhere to go. You are making us homeless. You are adults. I say cold as ice. Figure it out. I hear a chair scrape back on the other end. A deep male voice. The seller speaks up. He sounds furious. This deal is dead. We aren't waiting around for family drama. I have another buyer interested. We're done here. No, wait. Ronnie pleads. Please, give us 24 hours. We can find another lender. We can. You don't have the funds. The seller snaps. And frankly, son, after hearing that, I wouldn't sell you a bicycle, let alone my house. Come on, honey, let's go. Mom. Ronnie yells into the phone. Mom, stop them. Tell them you'll send it. Please. I'll lose everything. You already lost it, Ronnie. I say, you lost it the moment you press send. I look down at the petunias. They look beautiful in the sunlight. Goodbye, Ronnie. I say, Mom. I hang up the phone. I stand there for a moment, holding the device in my hand. My heart is beating a little fast, but not from fear. From power. For months, I felt helpless. I felt like I was being dragged along by a current I couldn't control. But now, I am standing on dry land. I imagine the scene in that office right now. The sellers walking out. The real estate agent looking at Ronnie with disgust, because nobody likes a man who scams his own mother. Sophia probably crying, not because she is sorry, but because her dream of being a rich housewife just evaporated. And Ronnie, staring at his phone, realizing that the old hag just outsmarted him. I put the phone back in my pocket. I pick up my gardening shears. There are still a few weeds left in the flower bed. I intend to pull them all out, root and stem. My garden is going to be beautiful this year. And for the first time in a long time, it's going to be mine. All mine. I put the phone in my pocket and walked back into the kitchen. My hands were steady, but my heart was thumping a slow, heavy rhythm against my ribs. It wasn't fear. It was the adrenaline of finally standing up for myself. I looked at the clock on the microwave. It was 10:15 a.m. It takes exactly 20 minutes to drive from the downtown title company to my house if the traffic is light. I knew I had 20 minutes of peace left before the storm arrived. I didn't spend it pacing. I didn't spend it crying. I spent it securing my fortress. I walked to the front door and turned the deadbolt. I checked the back door. I made sure the windows were latched. I felt like a captain preparing a ship for a hurricane. I was locking them out, but I was also locking my new life in. I sat down in my living room, picked up my knitting, and waited. I didn't have to wait long. At 10:38 a.m., I heard the screech of tires. It wasn't a normal arrival. It was the sound of a vehicle being driven by rage. I picked up my phone and opened the Ring app. I didn't want to look through the window. I didn't want them to see me peeking through the curtains like a frightened old lady. I wanted to watch them from the safety of my screen. On the video feed, I saw Ronnie's SUV swerve into my driveway, nearly taking out my mailbox. The doors flew open before the car even fully stopped. I watched my son step out. He looked like a man who had been punched in the stomach. His tie was loosened, his hair was a mess, and his face was pale. But it was Sophia who caught my attention. The perfect wife, the woman who always spoke in that sugary sweet voice, was gone. In her place was a woman possessed. She slammed the passenger door so hard I heard it through the walls of my house. She didn't wait to get to the porch. She started screaming right there in the driveway. "You idiot!" she shrieked, pointing a manicured finger at Ronnie's face. "You absolute, incompetent idiot! How could you be so stupid?" "Sophia, please," Ronnie pleaded, trying to grab her arm. "Keep your voice down. The neighbors." "I don't care about the neighbors," she yelled, slapping his hand away. "I care about the $10,000. Ronnie, we just lost the earnest money. That deposit is gone. You understand? That was our credit card money." I watched on the screen, feeling a cold sense of satisfaction. So, the deposit was non-refundable. I knew the contract terms usually said that if the buyer defaulted, the seller kept the deposit. They had just paid $10,000 for the privilege of insulting me. "We can fix this," Ronnie stammered. "I just need to talk to her. She's my mother. She'll listen. She hates you." Sophia screamed. "She hates us. And it's your fault. If you had just checked the contact name. God, I can't believe I married someone so useless." There it was. The crack in the foundation. For months, they had presented this image of a perfect, united team. They held hands. They finished each other's sentences. They smiled for the Facebook photos. But the moment the money stopped flowing, the love stopped flowing too. Their marriage wasn't built on partnership. It was built on transactions. And now that the transaction had failed, Sophia looked at my son with pure disgust. They marched up the walkway. Bam, bam, bam. The pounding on my front door shook the picture frames on the wall. "Mom," Ronnie yelled. "Mom, open the door. We know you're in there. Your car is in the driveway." "Stephanie," Sophia shouted. She didn't call me Mom anymore. Open this door right now. You owe us an explanation. I sat perfectly still in my armchair. I tapped the microphone button on the Ring app on my phone. I don't owe you anything, I said into the phone. My voice came out of the little speaker on the doorbell outside. It was crisp and clear. They both jumped. They looked around, confused, before realizing I was speaking through the camera. Ronnie leaned his face close to the lens. On my screen, his face was distorted, his eyes wide and desperate. "Mom, please," he begged. "You have to let us in. We can explain." The text, it was a joke. It was just a stupid joke between me and Sophia. We didn't mean it. "Stop lying, Ronnie," I said calmly. "I watched you in the driveway just now. I heard Sophia call you useless. I heard you worrying about the deposit. You aren't sorry for what you said. You are sorry you got caught. We are going to lose the apartment." Sophia yelled, pushing Ronnie aside to shout at the camera. "We gave notice. We have to be out by the 1st of the month. Where are we supposed to go? Are you really going to let your grandchildren live on the street?" "You won't live on the street," I said. "You have jobs. You have that expensive SUV in my driveway. You can find a rental. You just can't afford a mansion." "This is insane." Sophia hit the door with the flat of her hand. "You are being vindictive. You promised us that money. We have a verbal contract." "I promised to help family," I said, "but you made it very clear that I am not family. I am an old hag. I am a tool to be used and discarded." "Well, the tool is broken, Sophia. It doesn't work anymore. Mom, open the door." Ronnie slammed his shoulder against the wood. "I'm not leaving until you talk to me face to face." The wood groaned. I felt a spark of anger. This was my home, my sanctuary, George, and I bought this house 40 years ago. We paid off the mortgage with sweat and sacrifice. And now, this ungrateful boy was trying to break it down because he felt entitled to the equity George left behind. "Ronnie," I said, my voice dropping an octave, "listen to me very carefully." He stopped banging. He panted, leaning his forehead against the door. "What? Just let us in." "I am an old woman living alone," I said, "and there are 2 angry people banging on my door, trying to force their way in. I feel threatened." "Threatened?" Ronnie scoffed. "I'm your son. You are a trespasser." I corrected him. "I am asking you to leave my property. Right now." "Or what?" Sophia sneered. "You're going to come out here and chase us off with your cane?" "No," I said. "I have already dialed 911 on my landline. My finger is hovering over the call button. If you are not off my porch in 30 seconds, I am pressing it. And I will tell the police that there is a domestic disturbance, and I fear for my safety." "You wouldn't," Ronnie whispered. "Try me," I said. "You tested me yesterday, and look what happened. Do you really want to test me again today?" Silence hung in the air. The only sound was the wind chimes on the porch and Ronnie's heavy breathing. They looked at each other. Sophia looked at the camera, her eyes filled with venom. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She had seen the wire transfer get canceled. She knew the old hag had teeth. "Let's go," Sophia hissed at Ronnie. "She's crazy. She's actually crazy." "Mom," Ronnie said, "one last weak attempt." 20 seconds, I said. Ronnie kicked the doormat. He turned around, defeated. He walked down the steps, his shoulders slumped. He looked like a child who had been sent to his room, but older, sadder, and broken. Sophia didn't go quietly. She turned back one last time. "You'll die alone in this house, Stephanie," she screamed at the camera. "And nobody will care. Remember that." "I'd rather die alone," I replied, though I knew she couldn't hear me anymore because I had released the button, "than live with snakes." I watched them get back into the car. The argument started up again, instantly. I could see Sophia's hands flying, chopping the air, screaming at him. Ronnie just stared out the window. They backed out of the driveway and sped off down the street. I sat there for a long time, watching the empty driveway on my phone screen. My house was quiet again. My door was still locked. My money was still in the bank. My heart hurt. It hurt to see my son so low. It hurt to be spoken to like that. But as I looked around my living room, at the furniture Sophia wanted to throw away, at the photos of George on the mantel, I realized something. I wasn't losing a son. I was regaining my dignity. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. I picked up the kettle. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Good riddance, I said aloud. And then I made myself a fresh cup of tea. The week after the showdown on my porch was the longest week of my life. It wasn't long because I was lonely. It was long because my phone refused to stay quiet. If you have ever tried to break up with a bad boyfriend, you know the drill. First, they panic. Then, they get angry. Then, they beg. Finally, they threaten. My son, a grown man of 40, went through every single one of these stages in 7 days. Monday and Tuesday were the panic days. My voicemail filled up within hours. I stopped listening to them after the third one, but the tone was always the same. Ronnie sounded desperate. Mom, please, we can fix this. Mom, the sellers gave us a 48-hour extension. Just call the bank. Mom, are you really going to throw away our relationship over a text message? He wasn't hearing me. He still thought this was a negotiation. He thought I was throwing a tantrum, and that if he just pushed the right buttons, I would calm down and open the checkbook again. He didn't realize that the bank was closed for business. Permanently. By Wednesday, the panic turned into anger. The text started coming in all caps. He accused me of being selfish. He told me that Dad would be ashamed of me. That one stung a little, I admit. George was a soft-hearted man. He probably would have forgiven them. But George isn't here to see his son call his wife an old hag. If he were, I think he would have been the one changing the locks. I didn't reply to a single message. I learned a long time ago that you cannot reason with unreasonable people. Any response, even a no, just gives them fuel to keep the fire burning. So I starved the fire. I let their anger burn itself out in the void of my silence. Thursday was the day they played their ace card. I was sitting in my sunroom, reading a book, when my phone chimed with a notification from Sophia. I hadn't heard from her since she screamed at my Ring camera. I knew she was the architect behind all of this, so I braced myself before looking at the screen. It wasn't a text. It was a picture. It was a photo of my grandson, Leo, and my granddaughter, Mia. They were sitting on the floor of their apartment, looking sad, holding a cardboard sign that said, "We miss you, Grandma." My heart cracked. I touched the screen, tracing their little faces. I missed them so much it physically hurt my chest. I hadn't seen them in 2 weeks. I missed the way Leo smelled like peanut butter. I missed the way Mia would ask me to braid her hair. Then the text message followed. "You are confusing them, Stephanie. They keep asking why we can't go to the big house. They are crying because their grandmother doesn't love them enough to help their daddy. You ruined our lives. And until you fix this, you will never see your grandchildren again. Don't bother coming to Leo's soccer game on Saturday. You aren't welcome." I stared at the phone. My hands started to shake. This was it. The nuclear option. The thing every grandmother fears more than death. Being cut off. Being erased from the lives of the little people she loves more than anything. For a moment, I wavered. I thought about the money in the bank. Was it worth it? Was $120,000 worth never hugging Mia again? Maybe I should just pay it. Maybe I should just surrender and let them treat me like dirt, just so I can sit on the sidelines of a soccer game. I put the phone down and walked to the kitchen. I needed to talk to someone. I couldn't keep this inside. I called Barbara. Barbara has been my best friend since high school. She is a tough woman, a retired nurse who has seen everything. She came over 20 minutes later with a coffee cake and a look of determination. We sat at the kitchen table. I showed her the text. I showed her the picture of the kids. I feel like a monster, Barb, I whispered. Maybe I'm being too hard on them. Maybe I should just give them the money. Barbara looked at me over the rim of her glasses. Stephanie Dent, look at me. I looked up. Did you abuse them? She asked. No, I said. Did you neglect them? Never. Did you love them and support them until they spit in your face? Yes. Then you are not the monster, she said firmly. She pointed at the phone. This isn't love, Stephanie. This is a ransom note. She was right. The word hung in the air between us. Ransom? I took a sip of coffee. The fog in my brain started to clear. Sophia is using those children like poker chips, Barbara said. She thinks that because you love them, she owns you. She thinks she can trade access to them for cash. I thought about it. I thought about what it would be like if I gave in. I would pay the money. I would get the house. And then what? Next month, they would need furniture. If I said no, they would threaten to keep the kids away again. Next year, they would need a new car. If I said no, no Christmas visit. It would never end. I would spend the rest of my life paying for the privilege of seeing my own family. I sat up straighter. I felt a steel rod stiffen in my spine. You're right, I said. I picked up my pen and opened my journal, which was sitting on the table. I wrote down the sentence that had just formed in my mind, so I would never, ever forget it. If I have to be abused to see my grandchildren, then they aren't family, they are hostages. And I don't negotiate with terrorists. It broke my heart to write it. It broke my heart to admit that my son and his wife had become terrorists in my life. But admitting the truth is the first step to healing. I'm not going to the soccer game. I told Barbara, and I'm not replying to the text. Good, Barbara said. Now, what's the next step? The next step, I said, closing the journal, is making sure they can never hurt me again. Friday morning, I put on my best suit. I drove downtown, but not to the bank. I drove to the law offices of Jonathan Miller. Jonathan had been George's lawyer for 30 years. He was a good man with white hair and a kind smile. He welcomed me into his office and offered me a peppermint. Stephanie, it's good to see you, he said, though you sound serious on the phone. What can I do for you? I need to update my will, Jonathan, I said, sitting down in the leather chair. Okay, he said, pulling out a yellow legal pad. Just some minor changes? No, I said, major changes. I took a deep breath. I want to remove Ronnie as my beneficiary. Completely. I want to disinherit him. Jonathan stopped writing. He looked up, his eyebrows raised. Stephanie, that's a big step. Are you sure? In most states, you have to be very specific if you want to leave a child nothing. Otherwise, they can contest it and say you simply forgot them. I didn't forget him. I said, I want it stated clearly. I leave nothing to my son, Ronald Dent, for reasons known to him. Is that specific enough? Jonathan nodded slowly. That works. And the assets, the house, the savings, the insurance money, where does it go? I want to set up a trust for the grandchildren, I said, for their education. But Ronnie and Sophia cannot touch a dime of it. I want an independent trustee, maybe the bank. If the kids need college money when they are 18, they get it, but not a penny goes to their parents. Done, Jonathan said, scribbling furiously. And one more thing, I added. I need to change my medical power of attorney. This was the part that kept me up at night. Currently, if I had a stroke or ended up in a coma, Ronnie was the one who would make the decisions. He was my next of kin. After this week, the thought of Ronnie standing over my hospital bed, deciding whether to pull the plug, terrified me. He might pull it just to get his hands on the estate quicker. I want to appoint my niece, Sarah, as my medical proxy. I said, she's a nurse in Ohio. She has a good head on her shoulders. And she doesn't owe anyone money. Jonathan typed everything up. He printed the documents. The pages were warm when he handed them to me. I signed my name, Stephanie Dent. With each stroke of the pen, I felt lighter. I was cutting the cords. I was taking away their power. They could scream, they could threaten, they could withhold the grandchildren, but they could no longer wait for me to die so they could cash out. When I walked out of Jonathan's office, the sun was shining. I checked my phone. There were 3 new texts from Sophia, probably nasty ones. I didn't read them. I went to the settings menu. I found Ronnie's number. Block contact. I found Sophia's number. Block contact. The silence that followed wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. I got in my car. I miss my grandkids. Yes, my heart ached for them. But I knew that one day, when they were older, they would come looking for me. And when they did, I would be here, healthy, solvent, and whole. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was free. 3 months have passed since the day I blocked my son's phone number. I am not in my kitchen anymore. I am not weeding my garden. I am sitting at a small, round iron table on a cobblestone street. The air smells like roasted coffee beans and warm pastry. The sun is shining, but it's a different sun than the one in Ohio. It feels older, richer. I am in Rome. For 40 years, George and I talked about this trip. We had a jar in the pantry labeled the Italy Fund. We would put spare change in it. Sometimes, if George worked overtime, he'd fold up a $20 bill and slip it in with a wink. One day, Steph, he would say, we're going to eat pasta until we can't breathe. But one day never came. The roof needed fixing. The car broke down. Ronnie needed braces. Ronnie needed college tuition. Ronnie needed a wedding. The jar was always the first thing we raided when life got expensive. We sacrificed our dream so everyone else could have theirs. Well, George isn't here to see it, but I made it. I dipped into that $120,000. I took out enough for a first-class ticket, a nice hotel near the Pantheon, and a new wardrobe that doesn't look like something an old hag would wear. I am sipping a cappuccino, my second one today, and watching the people walk by. I feel a peace I haven't felt in years. I thought that without family, I would feel empty. I thought I would feel like a ghost. But I don't. I feel solid. I feel like I finally belong to myself. I still hear news from back home. Of course. A mother's radar never really turns off, and small towns talk. My friend Barbara keeps me updated, even though I tell her I don't want to know. Apparently, the fallout was just as bad as I predicted. Ronnie and Sophia didn't just lose the house. They lost their momentum. They had already given notice on their luxury apartment because they were so sure the closing was a done deal. When the sale collapsed, the landlord had already leased their unit to someone else. They had to be out by the 1st of the month. They scrambled. They tried to find a place quickly, but without my money to pad their bank accounts, their credit scores dragged them down. They couldn't afford the lifestyle they were trying to project. They ended up in a small 2-bedroom apartment on the south side of town, near the highway. It's noisy there. The appliances are old. There is no granite countertop and certainly no mother-in-law suite. The stress broke them. Barbara told me that Sophia went to stay with her sister for 2 weeks. She told people she needed space. I know what that means. It means she blamed Ronnie for failing to secure the bag. It means their marriage, which was glued together by greed, started to fall apart as soon as the money dried up. They are back together now. I hear misery loves company. They are living in that cramped apartment, probably arguing over bills, probably blaming me for everything. Let them blame me. I used to think that was my job, to absorb their problems, to fix their mistakes, to be the cushion that softened their falls. I thought that was what a good mother did. But sitting here in the eternal city, watching a group of pigeons fight over a crumb of bread, I realized the truth. I wasn't helping them. I was crippling them. As long as I was their safety net, they never had to learn how to fly. Now, they have to stand on their own 2 feet. It will be hard for them. They will struggle. But that is their journey, not mine. I finish my coffee. I have a tour of the Vatican booked for this afternoon. Tomorrow, I am taking a train to Florence. I am going to see the statue of David. I am going to drink wine in a vineyard. I touch the locket around my neck. It has a picture of George inside. We made it, honey, I whisper. I look at the empty chair across from me. I don't see Ronnie there. I don't see Sophia. I don't see the judgment, the demands, or the manipulation. I see open space. I see room for new friends, new experiences, and a new chapter. I pick up my purse, a nice Italian leather one I bought yesterday. I leave a generous tip on the table for the waiter because I can afford it and because kindness is free. I stand up and adjust my sunglasses. They sent that text message, thinking it would be the end of me. They thought that by telling me I was useless, I would crumble. They thought the fear of being alone would bring me to my knees. But they were wrong. They wrote that they didn't need me anymore. And they were right, because I realized I didn't need them either. I'm finally free. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story.